The ocean has always been full of mysteries, and sometimes the most unexpected heroes rise from its depths. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like, and share this video. On a quiet night near the coast of San Francisco, the waves looked calm from the shore, but beneath them, a life-or-death struggle was taking place. A lone humpback whale had wandered too close, unaware that danger awaited. With visibility low in the dark water, the creature never noticed the heavy crab traps scattered beneath the surface. By the time it realized, it was too late. The ropes were everywhere, thick cords cutting into its flesh, dragging it down with the weight of thousands of pounds of traps. The whale thrashed, twisted, turned, yet nothing worked. The more it fought, the tighter the lines became. Hours went by, and with each one, the animal grew weaker. Whales are not like fish. They must breathe air, surfacing often to survive. And though this one managed to lift its head for short breaths, exhaustion was clear in every movement. It was trapped, and it was suffering. By morning, the water carried whispers of trouble. A group of divers, setting out for what they thought would be a normal outing, were called toward the strange activity offshore. Among them was a man named James Mosquito, a seasoned diver with years of experience. Nothing about the warning they received prepared them for what they were about to face. 7 miles off the coast, they spotted it, the massive shadow moving beneath the waves, the giant head breaking the surface, eyes scanning them with confusion and fear. At first, the whale did not know whether the approaching humans meant harm or hope. It lingered there, battered and silent, as the crew leaned over the boat, taking in the terrible sight. The whale was tangled in a dozen crab traps, some of which stretched more than a mile long. Together, they weighed nearly 30 pounds. That mass was enough to crush its freedom and drown it slowly. The ocean around them carried an oil slick, leaking from wounds where the ropes had cut deep. To James, it was not just a sign of pain, it was a signal for predators. This was shark season, and he knew what that meant. Sharks could pick up the scent from miles away. For a moment, James remembered another day, another ocean. A memory that had never left him. A whale shark, bleeding and helpless, had been torn apart by predators while he watched, powerless to stop it. That image haunted him, and now, as he looked at the struggling humpback, he knew history could repeat itself unless he acted fast. The decision came without hesitation. James would go into the water. He would cut the whale free, even if it meant putting himself at risk. He began to suit up, pulling on his diving gear with calm, steady movement. His crewmates watched him closely, aware that this was not just dangerous, it was possibly life-threatening. The presence of sharks was a silent weight pressing on everyone's thoughts. James acknowledged it too. "I wasn't really scared," he would say later, "but it was in the back of my mind that something bigger might be out there." Before jumping in, he reminded the others to stay sharp. If a shark did appear, he warned, they mustn't look away. Predators are less likely to attack if they know they are being watched. With one last look at the water, James pulled his mask into place. The sea was calm, eerily so, and the whale's massive body floated silently, waiting. And then he leapt. The cold water wrapped around him, carrying the tension of the unknown. He swam toward the whale, each stroke bringing him closer to the immense creature that could end him with a single flick of its tail. Yet James felt no malice from it. Instead, he felt its eyes on him, tired, wary, but also strangely aware. It was as if the whale understood that these humans could be its only hope. Reaching out, James placed a hand gently on the whale's face. He whispered words it could not understand, yet the tone carried meaning. "I'm here to help you. I'm not going to hurt you." The sight was heartbreaking. The ropes had cut deep into the whale's skin, leaving raw, painful marks. The more it had fought, the deeper the wounds had become. Lines twisted around its body in a cruel web, traps dragging behind like anchors. James pulled out his knife and began to cut. The work was slow and heavy. Each rope was thick, layered, wrapped over and under countless times. Every cut mattered. Behind him, the other divers watched the water nervously, scanning for movement, scanning for the telltale shape of a shark's fin. James kept his focus, slicing through line after line. He encouraged his team, reminding them to stay alert, reminding them that they were close. Minutes stretched like hours. The whale twitched at times, its body trembling with fatigue. Yet somehow, it stayed still enough to let James work, almost as if it trusted him. Finally, with one last stroke of the blade, the final rope snapped free. The whale did not hesitate. It surged downward, disappearing into the dark water below. For a moment, the divers only stared at the empty ocean, their hearts pounding, unsure of what would happen next. Then cheers erupted. They had done it. James had done it. The creature was free, or so they thought, because the story was not over, not yet. For as James floated there, catching his breath, something enormous began to rise from the depths beneath him. The water grew darker below, and for a few seconds James could only see shadows moving in the depths. His body stiffened as he braced himself, half expecting to see the glint of a shark rising from the deep. But what broke the surface was no predator. It was the same humpback whale he had just freed. Slowly, the giant shape rose until its massive head emerged, the water streaming down like silver under the sunlight. James felt his breath catch. Instead of swimming away into freedom, the whale had come back. It hovered there, just a few feet from him, as if it was staring straight into his soul. The other divers had already climbed into the boat, their voices carrying across the waves in nervous amazement. They were urging James to get out quickly, but he couldn't move. He was transfixed by the enormous creature gliding gracefully toward him. Its eye met his again, calm now, almost gentle. And then the unexpected happened. The whale leaned in, nudging James with the soft edge of its head. Not violently, not in fear, but carefully, almost playfully. James' body spun slightly in the water from the gentle push, and the divers watching from the boat gasped. Then the whale circled him, wide and slow, as if performing a dance. Over and over it swam around him in smooth, endless figure eights. James stretched out a hand as the creature passed, and to his astonishment, the whale brushed against him lightly, like a pet greeting someone it trusted. For several long minutes, the sea became their world, just one man and one whale, bound together by a strange moment of connection. James later admitted he couldn't find the words for what he felt in that instant. It wasn't fear, nor was it triumph. It was something far more profound. Gratitude, as though this mighty creature, wild and free, had chosen to thank him in the only way it knew how. The crew aboard the boat fell silent, watching with wide eyes. Some of them held their cameras up, forgetting to even hit record. They knew they were witnessing something few people ever would. It wasn't just an animal freed from danger. It was a reminder that even the largest beings on Earth recognize kindness. After what felt like a dream, the whale finally dipped lower into the water. It swam around the boat once, slow and deliberate, before lifting its tail in one last graceful motion. Then, with a splash that shimmered in the sun, it was gone. James floated for a while, stunned. The image of the whale burned into his mind. He knew he would never forget those dark, soulful eyes looking into his, nor the gentle way it had chosen to return rather than vanish. It was more than just a rescue. It was a story of trust. Back on the boat, the crew clapped him on the back, their voices filled with awe. They spoke of bravery, of courage, of how James had risked his life in waters that could have been filled with predators. Yet for James, it wasn't about being a hero. He said later that all he could think about was how fragile life is, and how sometimes the smallest choices to act instead of stand by can change everything. That night, James lay in his bed, replaying it all, as if it had been a dream. If he closed his eyes, he could still feel the water around him, still see the massive silhouette circling him with joy. And in that silence, he understood something. The ocean had given him a gift in return. Not just the gratitude of a whale, but the reminder that even in a world of chaos and danger, kindness echoes back in mysterious ways.